Welcome back to Wake Up America. I'm Allison Maloney. Now to someone who is anything but happy these days, Britney Spears. This after losing her conservatorship hearing last week. Joining us now for more on that is defense attorney Mark Garrigus. Mark, great to see you again.
Thank you. Good to see you as well. Good morning.
Good morning, Mark. So the obvious question here, Britney Spears, she's world famous. She's multimillionaire. Why can't she get an esteemed attorney such as yourself?
Well, part of the problem is she's locked into this almost legal catch-22. She's been deemed to be unable to take care of herself or her affairs. And she did have an attorney who wanted to join her, but they said she wasn't free to make that decision. It's part of the kind of legal conundrum she's in, and frankly, makes very little sense. I mean, everyone has a right to an attorney of their choosing. You're accused of a crime, you're able to either represent yourself if you're competent or choose your own lawyer. Here they're saying that because of her mental state, she can't choose her own lawyer, and that is a real problem. And I think points out one of the idiosyncrasies, if not fatal flaws, of this conservatorship in this particular case.
Yeah, she can't choose her own lawyer, but isn't her money paying for her dad's attorney?
Her money is paying for everybody involved. I mean, the money, and that's part of the problem here. Because she's such a big earner, the money keeps flowing. When the money keeps flowing, unfortunately, the case keeps moving along like a juggernaut, and it's really a kind of illustrates part of the problem here. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If you were to go just 15 miles down to Venice Beach, you would see homeless encampments where the police say, we can't do anything about it. These are people who are in mental or in various stages of mental trauma and distress, and yet the police won't do anything with them. Here's you've got somebody who is an earner who was out there making tens of millions of dollars over the years, and they're saying she cannot conduct her own affairs. It makes very, very little sense ultimately at the end of the day. And I think something's going to break. I mean, there is going to be a part of this situation which is just legally untenable. And the judge at some point, who was very well thought of here in Los Angeles, at some point, I think this is you're going to see a transition here to some other lawyer or something else that takes place.
Yeah, well, because now, so her court-appointed attorney, he submitted a petition to resign, and then also it was announced that her longtime manager resigned. Is this a pattern of, people resigning? How is this going to impact her case now that her current attorney won't be representing her anymore?
Well, if the judge grants that petition for him to resign, which is likely, I think that will probably break things open. This whole idea that she can't choose her own lawyer, that she's got no reproductive choice, so to speak, while is appropriate under the code, has, I think, outlived its usefulness in this situation. You're talking about more than a decade. I think the fact that a new lawyer gets injected into this, who takes hopefully a new look at it or a fresh look, will probably bring the judge around to taking some action, loosening up some of the restrictions, and letting her get on with her life, which is really, when you listen to her, all she wants to do.
I know, you're right. So if she gets this new lawyer, does her dad have say as whether or not she's going to get this lawyer or a different one? How will that play out? Or will the court just appoint her a new lawyer?
Where the court could appoint her a new lawyer. She has reached out to several lawyers who say that they haven't been able to get kind of break the logjam, so to speak. Her father, interestingly enough, through his counsel, has asked for what's called an evidentiary hearing where witnesses can testify. If that were to happen, I think that would shine a light on this, and I think probably cause the judge to take some action and free her up. Because at this point, as I said before, it just doesn't make any sense. The conservatorship, I think, has outlasted any utility at this point. They're just going to have to do something to allow her to go on with her life. She clearly has enough money to have financial advisors if the worry is she's going to squander her money. She clearly has got the court kind of overseeing her. The court can loosen that up. It does not have to be this kind of bottleneck, so to speak, on her life that it's evolved into.
Yeah, it's just so sad. Women of her age that doesn't have any control of anything. Thank you so much, Attorney Mark Garagos. We appreciate your insight. Always great to have you.
Always great to see you. Thank you.